Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Aaron.
And I'm Ephraim Graham. We are learning more about the ISIS terror threat as leaders begin to debate the president's plan to target the group. New evidence suggests the massive terror organization may be 3 times the size of initial reports.
I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq.
President Obama's strategy to degrade and defeat the ISIS terror threat calls for arming and training rebels in Syria, increasing airstrikes in Iraq, and expanding those airstrikes to Syria. It's a plan some presidential supporters call aggressive, but others question if the president's actions are enough. That includes Republican House Speaker John Boehner.
An F-16 is not a strategy, and airstrikes alone will not accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. Somebody's boots have to be on the ground.
Boehner's reaction comes as new CIA intelligence reveals the size and scope of ISIS is more massive than previous reports of just 10,000. It's now estimated the terror organization can muster as many as 20,000 to more than 31,000 fighters across Iraq and Syria. With an enemy that large, the head of the House Intelligence Committee says it could take more than a decade to defeat ISIS. Republican Congressman Peter King told reporters this is not just bombing a mountainside or securing a dam. He says this is a war that could last 10 to 15 years.
We're very busy, as you know, and I'm very grateful you could come.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State John Kerry is on a whirlwind tour of the Middle East, lining up support for a coalition to take on ISIS. But Kerry says the U.S. is not at war with the group. He calls the fight a significant counterterrorism operation.
This is a moment for all decent countries to come together and stand up and say to the world that we've had enough of these individual groups.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel fully supports President Obama's call for united action against the self-proclaimed Islamic State. Netanyahu gave an annual address at the International Counterterrorism Conference on the anniversary of 9/11. He called groups like Hamas, ISIS, Boko Haram, and Hezbollah branches of the same poisonous tree.
All present a clear and present danger to the peace and security of the world and to our common civilization. I believe that the battle against these groups is indivisible, and it's important not to let any of these groups succeed anywhere. Because if they gain ground somewhere, they gain ground everywhere. And their setbacks are also felt everywhere.
Netanyahu said all civilized countries should stand together to fight against radical terrorism.
President Obama pledged to help protect Christians and other religious minorities in the Middle East. Obama and National Security Advisor Susan Rice met with Christian leaders from the region Thursday. They talked about the pressures Christians face from the rise of militant Islam. The president said the U.S. will work with the Lebanese army and other regional partners to tamp down the militant uprising. The fighting in Syria and the rise of the ISIS army has forced hundreds of thousands of Christians to flee their homes in Syria and in Iraq.
The European Union leveled new sanctions against Russian businesses, rebel leaders, and lawmakers today. Meanwhile, Ukraine says Russia has removed most of its forces from its country, but the aftermath of months of battle has left it in its wake a war-torn nation. And as George Thomas reports, CBN's Orphan's Promise has been on the scene to help.
Here in the war zone of eastern Ukraine.
The problem is life has come to a standstill. Everything has stopped working. Hospitals, schools, factories, mines, shops.
Buildings riddled with bullet holes. Tanks rolling down highways. Heavily fortified checkpoints. All common sights along Ukraine's border with Russia.
We spend hours hiding in our bomb shelter, then come out for a few minutes, then go back down. What kind of life is this?
A shaky ceasefire between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian separatists still holds, but people here know that could blow up at any moment.
We don't know when the shooting will start again and things get bad, but that's when we start worrying about our children.
In the Ukrainian provinces of Luhansk and Donetsk, the trauma from months of conflict takes its toll on both young
I'm so sad that I know what war is like.
And old.
God called us to stay and serve. We raised our family here, so we have nowhere else to go.
CBN's Orphans Promise has been on the ground for several months, responding to the desperate needs of people living in the conflict zone.
The risk to our staff is high, but we knew that we had to help.
Kucher says getting supplies as close to the front lines is key.
Those living near cities controlled by pro-Russian separatists are ones suffering most. There's no electricity, no water, no food. They are under constant threat.
Her team makes arrangements with local bakeries to deliver bread to hundreds of families. In addition, they bring sacks of potatoes, clothes, water, and other essential relief items.
Diapers are a big need here. We are so thankful for them. With shops closed, even getting the simplest things as a toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, a laundry detergent are difficult, so this is a huge blessing.
The influx of refugees burdens several small communities already feeling the strain of war.
I'm 77 years old and I see people fighting for bread every day. There are people from other cities displaced by war and they also need help as much as we do.
In communities where electricity works only sporadically, Kucher's team has been handing out superbook videos.
The superbook stories teach the children how to overcome harsh circumstances. The children need to hear this message, and so do the adults.
In one town recently recaptured by Ukrainian forces, Orphans Promise helps families rebuild their homes.
For example, a lot of homes have significant roof damage from rockets and other artillery fire. We want to get it fixed before winter comes.
With so much uncertainty and chaos around, residents say these simple acts of kindness will go a long way to eventually rebuilding lives.
I'm so happy that there are people like them in this country that worry about somebody else's pain and are trying to encourage the needy. Praise the Lord for that.
George Thomas, CBN News, in eastern Ukraine.
The third American infected with the Ebola virus is recovering well at a hospital in Nebraska. Dr. Rick Sakra received 2 blood transfusions from Dr. Kent Brantley, one of the first 2 American survivors of Ebola.
I didn't get to see Kent. He was here before I got here. And it really meant a lot to us that he was willing to give that donation so soon after his own recovery. And I spoke with his wife before it was arranged, and we both marveled at the fact that they had the same blood type. That was just, to us, that was something from the Lord.
The first donor we tested was a mismatch, and we were down to our last shot, so we said, uh-oh, but worked out great.
Doctors say Brantley's blood has antibodies that Sakra had not been able to develop, and the transfusion may help kickstart Sakra's immune system. Sakra also received an experimental drug that doctors say they are not allowed to identify. The Sakras say they hope what is being learned about the virus here in the States can help stop the spread in West Africa, where the virus has killed nearly 2,300 people.
Deportations of illegal immigrants are down 20% this year. That's the lowest number since 2007, according to a data analysis by the Associated Press. Immigration and Customs Enforcement sent home nearly 259,000 immigrants during the 2014 fiscal year. That's compared to 320,000 during the 2013 fiscal year.
A federal appeals court upheld New Jersey's ban on therapy to help minors overcome same-sex attraction. The 3-judge panel ruled the state has an interest in regulating the speech of mental health professionals to protect the public good. It also ruled the law does not violate freedom of speech or religion. The law prevents licensed professionals from using so-called conversion therapy techniques with anyone under the age of 18. 2 therapists and 2 professional associations filed suit challenging the ban. They said the law prevents them from helping clients who want therapy to overcome same-sex attraction.
A sixth grade teacher in Washington, D.C. is apologizing after assigning students to compare Adolf Hitler with President George W. Bush. The teacher at McKinley Middle School told students to compare and contrast Bush and Hitler because both men abused their powers. At least one parent posted their outrage on social media, and others agreed.
I don't think it was appropriate to make the comparison at all.
It's not appropriate for kids, especially at a young age.
I wasn't a fan of him, but I don't think it's really fair to compare him to Hitler.
D.C. public school officials say the teacher has now admitted to poor judgment.
And coming up, Tim Tebow makes a comeback. Find out what he's up to and where you'll be able to watch him on television. Former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow is joining Good Morning America. The Heisman Trophy winner led the Denver Broncos to the playoffs in 2012, and he briefly played for the New York Jets and New England Patriots. Since then, he has been working as a guest host and analyst with ESPN. Tebow, who's been very public about his Christian faith, will be part of a segment called Motivate Me Monday, which highlights individuals and their stories of triumph. He'll appear in studio and on live locations in towns across the country. The series premieres next week, September 15th.
A Florida school district is redefining the role of chaplains in public schools. The move comes after the Freedom from Religion Foundation complained to the Orange County School District. The group says using pastors as chaplains amounts to illegal religious endorsement. Now the school district says chaplains have to be called life coaches and they can't read from scripture or pray with students. Pastors in the area are appalled, saying it's a way of removing Christianity from public life. Pastor Troy Schmidt is one of those pastors, and he joins us now by Skype. Pastor Schmidt, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here.
Now, you served as a chaplain for the high school football team in the district. How long did you do that, and what was that experience like?
I was doing it for about 6 years, and it was a great experience. It was great to connect with the kids. We were meeting them before the games. We would give them food that came from our church that we would cook, came out of our own pockets. We would pray with them before the meal. We would then pray, give a short kind of an inspirational message. And then out on the field, we were there during the games on the sidelines, encouraging the kids, and then praying after the game right there on the field.
Did any students or parents ever complain?
Nobody had complained. I was, in fact, with all kinds of people. I'm sure there were some atheists on there. I'm sure there were some kids with, a church background. But we also had Muslims on the team, and I knew the parents of those Muslims, and we got along great, and we never heard anything.
Wow. What was your reaction with being replaced with a life coach?
Well, what they said was they just wanted to change my name to a life coach, and what they wanted me to now do was to really sort of talk not from the Bible or to talk about God or to pray, but to give a more kind of a secular speech. And I couldn't really do that. So they've asked me to stay on, but I just said I couldn't do that part. And that term life coach to me, unless it means the way, the truth, and the life coach, I didn't want it.
What message does this send? The fact that the school district made this decision because of the complaint from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. What message does this send?
Well, you just see over and over again that the Freedom from Religion Foundation is trying to squeeze out whatever it can, any form of faith expression that occurs in our public school system. It could be before school, during school, and now we see it's after school. And so the message it's sending is, really that I feel, is there's no place for anyone of any faith to be in our schools, and they need to be quiet when they're there.
Well, I understand that this has really sparked something of a revival at another high school. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I went to an Apopka game, and they have something called Cover the Field, and it was an amazing response to it. They have a Facebook page, and when I went to the game, they poured out of the stands and went out on the field, and one of the students took a bullhorn and began to lead them in prayer. and he was saying, we're not going to let the Freedom from Religion Foundation stop us. And all of the parents and students were out there. There might have been 500, 600, and every home game, that's what they're going to do. Now, sadly, during all that, the coaches have to stand off to the side about 20, 30 feet, and they cannot participate in the prayer. And I don't think that's fair for their right to be able to express their faith.
You're absolutely right. Pastor Troy Schmidt, we'll keep our eye on this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, it is on course to make some big waves at the box office. Why the sequel to Dolphin Tale is a great fit for families.
Dolphin Tale made big waves at the box office in 2011, earning nearly $40 million in less than 2 weeks.
Now, Winter's inspiring tale offers new hope with a sequel. It hits theaters today. Here's a behind-the-scenes look in this edition of Family Entertainment News. Millions have fallen in love with Winter. She's the dolphin with a prosthetic tail. She lost her own not long after Florida's Clearwater Marine Aquarium rescued her from a crab trap.
Wait a minute, I'm seeing something.
Charles Martin Smith brought Winter's story to the big screen and shined a light on what was then a struggling aquarium and animal hospital. We caught up with the film director on the set of Dolphin Tale 2.
Did you anticipate the impact that the first film has had, on this community, on people as a whole? Did you anticipate the volume of response you've seen?
Not at all, no. I thought we were making, a really nice film, and I thought it would touch people, but I guess I didn't really understand quite how deeply.
In the 3-year since its release, Dolphin Tale has gone from an inspiring film to a life-changing film. So much so that many could never imagine returning here to Clearwater to shoot a Dolphin Tale 2.
I thought it was a joke, actually, when they said we want to do a sequel. I'm saying, well, that's impossible. What could you possibly tell? Like, what story is there to tell? They sent me the script. I'm like, Charles Martin Smith, the evil genius. He's done it again, and he really did.
That's them.
This story follows the drama of rescuing another ailing dolphin.
Hey, guys. She's stiffening up. Might not make it. We gotta get her in the water fast.
Dad, she's so little.
Treating that little dolphin.
Now all we can do is hope.
And then pairing hope with Winter, who's suffering some growing pains of her own.
Surely she's outgrown the last tail by now.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman is back in the role of the doctor who builds Winter's prosthetic tail.
Did she ever come out?
Not much, not since Panama died. It's hard to even coax her out to eat.
You ever try bacon?
For your character, I have to say, I thought of you as sort of the wisdom character, but also the wise guy. How much of that is Morgan Freeman versus acting?
Most of the wise guy part. I'm like old enough to claim some wisdom, but I'm not sure about that. Wise guy, yeah.
What are you doing? This has gone on long enough. You are gonna be in so much trouble.
The children in Dolphin Tale 2 are also wiser and more mature.
I'm not a swimmer, but my favorite scenes in the movie are you two in the water with the dolphins. Tell me, what is that like to swim with them?
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so magical in a way because those dolphins are such majestic creatures.
Both of the dolphins are so gentle and majestic, and it was incredible to have that experience long term,
Just like the first tale, the animals are the real stars of this film, and the actors are the supporting cast.
Winter would make noise and be distracting and try to solicit and get us to pay attention to her, including making really significant and realistic fart sounds through her blowhole. She'd like, and we'd look at each other and then look at her, and it worked,
Will there be a Dolphin Tale 3?
I would say I certainly hope so. And I know that the animals provide enough natural drama that there could certainly be another great story.
Okay, I am going to go see this movie.
Great film for the entire family. We've got lots more on our website, interviews with all the cast, and some really special things you'll want to see. Take a look. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Well, the weekend is here, and you may be looking for a little family-friendly entertainment. Here with our regular movie reviews is Bob Waliszewski from Plugged In Online. That is the entertainment review department from Focus on the Family. Well, Bob, we just heard about the plot for the new sequel, Dolphin Tale 2. Sounds like a great one for families. What'd you think about it?
Absolutely. I'm going to chime right in and give the same. We like this film. We gave it a 4.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. The first Dolphin Tale, we gave a perfect score. By the way, some people think Bob never gives a perfect score to a movie. Well, if you go to our website at pluggedin.com, you can actually pull up films by their ratings. And if you say, I want all films that get a perfect score out of 5, you'll find there are 36 films. If you ask the same rating system, I want all films that get a 4 or better, there's 252 films that come up. So there really are a lot of films on our website that people can read and digest. In Dolphin Tale, the first one was a great film. This one, the new one, Dolphin Tale 2 with a 4.5. It's just the kind of film that you want to take your kids to. There's no nail-biting suspense. It's just a good message with lots of dolphins and lots of people that care.
Indeed, indeed. Saw it myself. Great film. Well, it's been a big year for faith-friendly films, from Son of God to Heaven is for Real and God's Not Dead. Are there any more faith-based films on the horizon?
You know, with just 3.5 months left of this year, there still are a bunch of them in the lurch. We have Left Behind, a new Left Behind coming out soon. This month yet, The Song and Believe Me. There's a film called The Good Lie coming out on October 3rd, although they probably wouldn't describe it as faith-based per se. I've seen it, and there's a lot of good faith content in this one. And, there's a football film, from the faith community called 23 Blast. And later this year, Return to the Hiding Place. We're all familiar with Corrie ten Boom's story. This is about a young man who hid in Corrie ten Boom's house, and more about his story. So there's 6 right there, and there's even, and that's not even counting Exodus, if that turns out to be faith-based, coming out at Christmas time.
All right. Thank you, Bob. We will see you right here again next week.
Sounds good.
And that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do it on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you join us again right here next time. Have a fabulous Friday, everybody.